Should girls take creatine? The short answer is yes, but the longer answer is a little bit more complicated, which is why for the past 30 days, I've been taking creatine to see if all the crazy health claims are true or if it actually makes girls too bulky. Today, we're going through the top claims that people have made about the effects of creatine and ranking them as either legit or bust. And at the end, I'll explain the one reason why I will probably never stop using creatine. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Claim 1. Creatine makes your muscles bigger. I wanted to start with this because this is probably the most well-known effect of creatine, and also probably the one that women are the most concerned about. The worry that I first had when I started taking it 30 days ago was that it would work too well and I would get too big. But let's talk about it. There is a lot of complicated biochemistry behind how creatine works, but simply put, creatine causes your muscles to hold more water. This extra water literally makes your muscles look more inflated. Basically the opposite of when you go low carb and immediately lose 5 pounds of water weight. I will admit, I made a mistake at the beginning of this challenge in not realizing that, oh, if my body needs more water, I should probably drink more water or else I'll become really dehydrated. But once I actually started drinking water, we were in business. And about a week in, I started seeing some pretty drastic changes to my body. The first noticeable difference was that my abs started to look a lot more defined, which was weird because I thought I was going to be gaining water weight. But then as the month went on, things started to change even more. Before we can get into that though, I just want to say that I wouldn't want to make this part of the video at all if all I could do was just point at before and after pictures. Because as we all know, those can pretty easily be faked. It's really difficult to determine that from just 2 photos, so I wanted to give you guys some proof. For that reason, I actually quantified the difference between my body before and after taking creatine by doing an Evolt body scan, and we'll go over the full results later on. Even still though, just from a physical standpoint, I do think that I look bigger after this month of taking creatine. Am I too bulky? I don't think so. And if that's your primary reason for not taking creatine, like it was for me, then you are definitely missing out on all the amazing benefits we'll talk about today. Overall though, this claim is definitely legit. Claim 2. Creatine improves brain function. I heard some wild claims that creatine can apparently improve your brain function and improve short-term memory. And when I started researching, things only got wilder. One study that tested different demographics using tools like IQ tests found that after healthy young men and women took 5 grams of creatine a day for 15 days, all of the cognitive tests improved. That's right, their IQ literally went up after taking creatine. And this isn't some fluke. Many other studies have shown that creatine can improve intelligence and reasoning and short-term memory in individuals, although specifically in what capacity is still not 100% certain. There are even more studies that show cognitive improvements in people that are sleep deprived. Even crazier than all this, however, is the fact that creatine might be useful in treating cases like brain injury, aging, Alzheimer's, and depression, all of which I'm going to dive into in a second. Did I experience any mental benefits? Well, unlike the physical aspect, I didn't really think to do an IQ test or anything. I will say I'm also currently taking 6 classes for my finance major, and I do have all A's. But that's also not extremely uncharacteristic of me. So I will say I haven't really been having any issues with brain fog since starting, so honestly, I'm gonna say this claim is legit. Claim number 3. Creatine helps with mental illnesses and disorders. This one probably sounds just as crazy to you as it did to me. I mean, come on. You're trying to tell me that this little white powder will suddenly stop someone from having Alzheimer's or dementia? Well, maybe it's not quite so outlandish after all. A paper that was published in 1999 absolutely blew away all of our preconceived ideas about creatine and unlocked a new era of research by stating that we have creatine in our brain. We use that creatine to increase the synthesis of a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, or much more commonly known as ATP. For those of you who've taken biology, or if you know what the powerhouse of the cell is, you know that ATP provides energy for all of your cells. This can have some influence on your muscular cells, as we'll see in a bit, but it can also improve the amount of energy your brain creates. Having more ATP in your brain could lead to you having more energy and reduced fatigue, which could help improve your mood and lessen symptoms of depression. As for more degenerative brain disorders like Alzheimer's and dementia, no definitive studies have been published yet, but it seems that some are in the works. Scientists are hypothesizing that creatine would help though, because, quote, in Alzheimer's disease, creatine kinase activity is reduced by as much as 86%, end quote. Creatine kinase, by the way, is the enzyme that gives energy to creatine so that it can give you energy. So it's super important. There are some other possible ways that creatine could help with these diseases, like neuroprotection, but I don't really want to make this video an hour-long deep dive into brain chemistry. So did I see any benefits in this regard? I was fortunate enough not to really have experienced any sort of negative mental issues during this time period, other than the occasional off day. So I can't really tell if this one was a bust because it didn't really do much, or if it was legit because nothing really happened. But if you're interested in learning more, I will link everything that I've talked about today down below in the description. Claim number 4. Creatine boosts your energy. Something really weird happened to me when I started taking creatine. As we touched on earlier, creatine is really good at producing energy in your body. I just wanted to mention this story briefly because it is just my experience and it is entirely speculation. But I really think that someone should do a study on this because, well, you'll see. So if you saw my video where I tried to go carnivore, you know that in that video, I tried not drinking any coffee because I wanted to go fully carnivore. And as a result, I had the most horrific withdrawal headache around 3 p.m. And it was so bad that I just had to make a matcha. So yes, long story short, I have been addicted to caffeine for years, and anytime I don't drink it, I get a terrible, terrible headache. However, one day about 3 weeks into this challenge, I realized it was 4 p.m. and I hadn't had any coffee. I didn't really have a headache, and it was a little bit too late in the day to justify drinking any caffeine. So I figured I would just have to drink some coffee first thing in the morning to sort out the headache that I thought I would get. Then the morning came and the headache didn't, nor did it come the next day, or the day after that, or for the rest of the challenge. I thought, dang, there must be some major connection between creatine and caffeine withdrawals that I just missed. But when I looked it up, the closest thing I could really find were some preliminary studies done with subjects who had depression and were taking antidepressants and creatine. So I did even more digging, and again, I just want to say I'm not a scientist. This is all just speculation. But what I discovered still blew my mind, and I need to share it with you. To oversimplify, the way that caffeine works in your brain is that it binds to a receptor called an adenosine receptor. Without the caffeine, the receptor would bind to adenosine, which is what makes you sleepy. So with caffeine there in the receptor, it stops you from getting sleepy. With me so far? Good. Caffeine headaches typically come from withdrawal because there isn't any caffeine in your brain to bind to the receptors. My gosh, take a shot every time I say caffeine. Basically, that means all the adenosine binds to the receptors, which can make you super tired and have all of the other terrible symptoms that come with caffeine withdrawal. This is an oversimplification, but my discovery was finding that creatine actually binds to the same exact receptors as caffeine, potentially stopping that adenosine from binding, which could be the reason why I didn't get any withdrawal headaches until my creatine ran out yesterday. I'm just saying. So as far as the benefits go, this one is definitely legit, but someone needs to do a study on this ASAP. Claim number 5, creatine makes you stronger. This claim goes beyond just big muscle, lots of water. It's the claim that you were actually stronger after taking creatine. And to analyze this, we're gonna look at 2 things. Number 1, did I lift more weight after using creatine? And number 2, did my body scan results go up? As I mentioned earlier, I did 1 body scan before the 30 days and 1 body scan after, and we're gonna compare all of the results. First, the weight. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty inconsistent with tracking how much weight I lift. I'll just typically grab whatever weight feels good and heavy on that day and use it to work out. The one thing I do track, however, is pull-ups, because that's been a goal of mine for a while. At the beginning of this challenge, I was only able to do assisted pull-ups with about 70 pounds of assistance. And yesterday, for the first time ever, I did a pull-up. Yeah, it was just 1, but it felt amazing. Before I reveal my body scan results, I will say that I did save the best claim for last. So stick around to see the reason why I will probably never stop using creatine. Let's start with body composition. First, skeletal muscle, which this scanner defines as the muscles attached to all the bones that you utilize for training and cardiovascular activity. In 30 days, I went from 59.1 pounds of skeletal muscle mass to 60.4 pounds. This might not sound like a lot until you see what 1.2 1.3 pounds of muscle actually looks like. Diving deeper, we can see that my arms and legs all gained anywhere from 0.1 pounds of muscle to half a pound of muscle. And in addition to that, my basal metabolic rate, or my BMR, went up, which basically just confirms everything else. One metric that really stood out to me was total body water. I had never really paid attention to it that much, but this month it increased from 76.3 pounds to 77.8 pounds. That's an extra 1.5 pounds of water that creatine helped my muscles hold on to, which is just crazy. There was one final metric that I'll talk about in the last section of this video, but first, do I think this claim was legit or a bust? It is tough just looking at the numbers because they could point to the fact that since there's more water in my muscles, that's the reason why they're bigger. But the pull-ups, on the other hand, I don't know. I feel like this claim is legit, honestly. Claim number 6. Creatine helps you recover. I wouldn't have teased this if it wasn't true, so I'm just gonna get right into it. Yes, creatine shortened my recovery time on workouts significantly. I'm talking a 1 to 2 day recovery time on a leg day instead of 5 days. This is potentially because of an increase of nitrogen cells in my body from 22.7 pounds to 23.3. According to this, nitrogen is a component of protein which provides your body with the ability to repair tissues and cells. Whatever it is though, it works so well, and I don't think I will ever stop taking creatine because of it. I mean, why would I? It's safe, there are no side effects, and it just helps so much. So to everyone watching, check with your doctor first probably, but I would definitely recommend getting some good creatine. I'll link some good ones in the description. Let me know in the comments which of these claims you would be the most skeptic about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.